Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Micah Let's Play, and guess who I am? I'm not Wonder Woman, I'm Micah. I just so happened to borrow Wonder Woman's costume, because guess what we're going to be talking about today? The Wonder Woman 84 movie, and I'm doing the review. So before I get started, you know how Micah gets down. I've made a specific intro, specifically for you. Enjoy! Wink!
Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman.
All the world is waiting for you and the power you possess. In your satin tights, fighting for your rights, and the old red, white, and blue.
Now loading Micah's Let's Play.
I know, I'm too good to you. Okay guys, let's talk about this Wonder Woman movie. Oh my glob, as you can obviously tell, I love this movie. I don't just kinda love it, I really love it. You wanna know why? I've watched this movie 6 times already, kids. 6 times. And I plan to watch it some more. And so, how we're going to do this review, guys, I'm going to break it down in sections. I'm going to talk about Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, the cast, the crew, the director, all that. We're going to talk about the amazing music. We're going to also talk about the movie itself, the story of Wonder Woman. So this is a spoiler review, so you've been warned. Then on top of that, guys, we're going to also talk about the end credit scene, and then I'm going to give you my overall thoughts on the movie itself, and I'm pretty sure, judging by my getup and my excitement, where this is going. But let's talk about that amazing cast, crew, and director, Miss Patty Jenkins. Let's get this started. Okay, guys, Wonder Woman 84 was directed by Patty Jenkins and also co-written. Who co-wrote the movie with her is Geoff Johns, an incredible comic book writer. These two, along with David, I forget his last name, it's right here on screen. Forgive me, David, I love you to life. These 3 people came together and they wrote this fantastic movie. I just gotta say, Wonder Woman has so much heart. It was so beautifully written, and I laughed, I cried, I just had such a good time with Wonder Woman 84. So today, I'm gonna be shedding light on her and just all of the goodness that came from this film. But let's talk about the cast and the director. So Patty Jenkins actually directed the first Wonder Woman movie. She also had a co-writer, Mr. Heimberg. He actually wrote the movie with her. And I absolutely love the first Wonder Woman. It's one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. It's only second to Black Panther because Wonder Woman this entire time has secretly been saying, Wakanda forever. Who knew? Now guys, let's talk a little bit more about Geoff Johns. Geoff Johns is, like I said before, he's actually a comic book writer and a screenwriter. And some of the comic books he actually wrote was the Green Lantern series, which I absolutely love. If you have never read a Geoff Johns comic, please do yourself a favor. Go find one, read it. Trust me, you will be pleasantly surprised. I believe he even wrote some Flash comic books as well. So again, the man knows his stuff when it comes to comics. So knowing that him and Patty Jenkins got together and wrote this movie, I already knew then that this movie was going to be good. And again, I'm utterly excited and totally thrilled. So now let's talk about the cast. First and foremost, let's talk about our leading lady, Gal Gadot. I loved her performance. What else can I say? And for everyone who said that Gal Gadot cannot act, not trying to throw shade, I'm not trying to stir up this Wonder Woman media hate, that's not my jam, but for real, Gal Gadot performed her ass off in this movie. Me and my wife literally had audio and physical responses to her acting in this movie. She did such a fantastic job, and literally, she not only embodies Wonder Woman as a character, she embodies Wonder Woman with who she is as a person. I do not know Gal Gadot. I have never met her in person, but what you see on screen and what you've seen in interviews is that she's just a charming woman and just a fantastic actress. And you can tell from the first Wonder Woman movie to this movie that her performance actually improved. In the first Wonder Woman, the first few scenes were a little wooden, as they said, but I still liked it anyway. And to see her performance this time was a lot It was so much better. My wife and I actually were saying we love her face acting, especially there's a scene in the movie when she's talking to Steve about the wishing stone, and she says this line, and she says it with fear, but also like she was trying to keep her voice down. And we'll talk about that scene later, but it was so well performed. Gal Gadot, again, if you ever see this, or Patty, or anybody, you guys did wonderful, and I love all of you because you brought one of my favorite superheroes to life in such spectacular fashion. Now let's talk about our leading man. Let's talk about Chris Pine. First and foremost, Chris Pine is super cute, and everybody loves him for it, but I loved him in this movie. His performance, as we all know, Chris Pine is a phenomenal actor. I mean, why not have him as and why not have him as Steve Trevor? But to see him play Steve Trevor as a man out of time, or a man in the past that's now in the future, however you want to word it, was absolutely wonderful to behold. His childlike wonder, literally wonder, in this movie was adorable, and it was so cool to see, because imagine being in an era where space and all this futuristic 80s technology wasn't even thought of when he was around, because he was born during the 1900s, going into the 1940s with the First World War. And to see him embody this character as a man, especially the escalator scene, I love it so much. I think it's one of the most sweetest scenes in the movie, and to see him see the train, and we'll talk more about it, but Chris Pine, again, mwah, wonderful performance. Love him to life. He's so excellent. Now let's talk about Pedro Pascal, who also played as Maxwell Lord. Loved it. Maxwell Lord, Pedro Pascal, they're the same person. I love them so much. I love his performance so much. I was so impressed with his level of, being this, guy desperate for success. And for any entrepreneurs who are watching, I related to Pedro Pascal so much with Maxwell Lord. I understood that hunger for success, that drive to, I'm not a loser, I'm going to do the best, and I'm going to be the best. And his scenes with his child were just beautiful, and they were inspirational, and they were also like, my God, like, this man just knows how to, he's a scene-chewing actor, and he just did a good job, and I love it so much. Pedro Pascal did a phenomenal job. If you don't see the movie for any other reason, see it for him, because he did that good of a job. Now let's talk about Kristen Wiig. Oh my God, when I first heard she was going to play Cheetah, I'm not going to lie, I was a little like, Patty, what we doing, baby? Because she a comedian. She's not an action actress. But you know what Kristen Wiig said? You know what? She said no. Micah, no. I am an actress. I am an actor's actor, and she did a phenomenal job. I love all her subtle comedy. I love the part when where her and Diana first meet, and she meets her boss, and she's like, "We met already in the interview." It was just, oh my God, her subtle comedy was really hilarious, and I love her adorableness. She did such a good job. She was absolutely just breathtaking, and I loved her for it. And I think that I just wanted more of her, and I loved her that much. I love watching her transition from, Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva, and watching how she slowly became the Cheetah. And I just loved it. I loved everything about her performance. All of the top leading actors in this movie did a great job, and it was just nice to see Themyscira again and all the Amazons. It was just a wonderful movie. And again, I can't say it enough. I love this film. But now that we've talked about the cast and the crew and the amazing director and writers, let's talk about the visuals as well as the music, the locations, and all that jazz. So let's do it, right? Okay, guys, Wonder Woman's visuals were absolutely amazing. Patty Jenkins has an eye for directing, and it's just amazing. It's so beautiful to watch how this woman can capture a scene. One of my favorite scenes is on Themyscira when the movie opens, and you get to see the level of scale that Patty was able to capture within this movie. the island. I believe they were on somewhere on Spain. I believe that's the location, and it was just beautiful. I couldn't believe that places like this still exist in this world. It's just so gorgeous. The locations were gorgeous. Even when you left Themyscira and you went into Washington D.C. during the 80s, and the way she captured each scene from the subway to where you first start seeing the White House, especially when Gal Gadot and and Chris Pine were walking and they were heading towards the Lincoln Monument. Utterly beautiful. All of the shots in this movie, even the action sequences were just, oh, they were breathtaking. So now let's talk about the music in this movie. We all know why this music was hot and it was popping and it was fire. The music was by Hans Zimmerman. Oh my God, Hans Zimmerman. He did the first Superman movie, The Man of Steel. He did Batman vs Superman. He did the Wonder Woman theme, and that he did I believe he did some of the music in the first Wonder Woman, and he did it in this Wonder Woman. And again, Hans Zimmerman. The music in this movie was absolutely incredible. I love the mixture of 80s flair with this movie because it was just, again, it was so good. And the fashion in this movie was so good. I so loved all of the fashion. It was so 80s. I so loved it. It was, and again, I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 83. So literally when Wonder Woman took place, I was literally 1 year old. Me and my wife were both a year old when this movie took place. And oh my God, what a time to be alive in the 80s, man. Again, the music and locations were just, oh my God, so good, so good. But now let's talk about the story and some of the comic book elements that were in the movie. So, as I said before, let's get started. Okay guys, the Wonder Woman story is a very simple one to follow, but you had to pay attention to make sure you picked up all the nuggets. And I like how it was written where they didn't just tell you everything, you had to pay attention so you could understand the story, so there was no hand-holding. And I like that in my stories. I like a story that makes me think, and I was totally here for it. So first and foremost, like I said before, we get a chance to go back to Themyscira and see Diana as a child again as she gets to compete with the other amazing Amazons. And I love the lesson that Diana was given by her auntie, Antiope. Diana was in this competition and she fell off her horse, and somewhere along the way she actually figured out how to get past the other Amazons to get her horse and to win the race. But here's the thing, Diana had to constantly hit these markers to show where she was in the race, for her flag to drop, for, the Amazons to know where she was going. And to see her get pulled out the race and see the young actress who played Diana, see her, it was like, I could have won, but, and I love how Antiope was like, even if you can't win, it's okay. It's okay to say you're not ready to win. And I've had so many moments like that in life where I know I could have took the easier path, but I went ahead and stuck to my guns, and even though I lost and I didn't like it, but I learned something from that. And I love that message in the movie. It's okay to fail. It's okay to say, I'm not ready to win, because you can't always win through cheating. And I love that message, and I internalized that message, and I totally loved it. It was so Wonder Woman. Again, I want to add this in there. For a lot of people who didn't understand or didn't like this movie, don't understand Wonder Woman on a fundamental level. And Wonder Woman comic books have always been that way, where they were a little preachy, or they talked to you, or Wonder Woman gave you a beautiful message, or Wonder Woman was a badass warrior. And you got a little bit of both of that in the movie, and I love the fact that Patty and Jeff put that in this script. Another amazing part of this movie is when you first see Diana again back in Man's World, and you see when Kristen Wiig as Dr. Barbara Ann Minerva first appears in the museum, and she drops her briefcase and all the papers go everywhere. And I love how she was like, hey, she was talking to this guy she thought was cute. She kept saying, hey, and he like totally ignores her and walks past her. And she's just like, oh well, hey, walk much? And she's putting her papers in, and then you see Diana appear. And just like an angel from heaven, she was a breath of fresh air. And I love how Diana was very standoffish when she first met Cheetah. Because if you don't know, Diana's been on her own since the entire first cast of Wonder Woman. We're talking about Etta Candy and the entire squad that she had of, you know, the Native American gentleman and everyone else, and Scotty, have all passed away. And now Wonder Woman is on her own. So she's learned to be on her own. And of course, being in man's world and seeing men for who they are, not just men, but women as well, and seeing how people are, and now truly learning what Chris Pine meant when he said it's not just one bad guy, you know, that we want to point the blame on. And now living in man's world, seeing how Wonder Woman has to adapt to adjust to the dynamics of mankind, and seeing how she was very like, I'm gonna help you because that's who I am. It's in my nature. You know, I'm gonna help everybody I run across. But at the same time, see how she was, again, that distance, and I love that in her character. And I like being able to see how Diana was like, okay, well, here's your, you know, okay, have a nice day. Because once Diana saw her execute, she made a beeline for it. And you know what? The funny part is, I've done the same thing in real life. Again, I loved it because I saw myself and Diana in those moments. And also I loved it, the opening parts of the movie where you get to see the opening parts where you see the guy speed racing, he almost hits the runner, and Wonder Woman kicks the car and the car goes spinning. Oh my god, I love that. I love it how Wonder Woman just likes to run around and save people. Because if you could, why wouldn't you just anonymously save people within the city? One of my favorite moments is when you see the girls steal the glasses and they knock over the bride, and the bride almost falls, and Wonder Woman's lasso wraps her around and she like safely puts the woman on the ground. I just love that. So you were like getting glimpses of Wonder Woman before you got to really see her as Wonder Woman. And I love those parts in the movie. I thought that was such a cool intro to how the story was kicked off. And I love how when you see the wishing stone in the movie with Wonder Woman, and of course, you know, the wishing stone was the big thing in the movie, and how anyone who touched it, when you read the incantation, basic saying, if you hold it and make a wish, it comes true. And I like how in the very beginning you see this guy just says, I wish I had a cup of coffee. And he kind of makes his face and he goes off about his day and he randomly gets the coffee. But if you guys paid attention, when he drinks it, he goes, oh, it's hot, because he burned his mouth. So I like that subtle little detail that was in the movie. And then when you see Diana say, oh, if only, and she makes the wish, and her hair blows all Beyonce style. Fuck yeah, I was so here for it. And you know what she wished for, and we'll talk about him in just a second. And I like how her and Diana were like talking, and Diana says the line of, how lame is this stone? Who makes this stone? And her and Dr. Barman Minerva go off and they have this conversation. I loved it. I love watching Diana, just be herself. And I love how she explains to Barbara, you know, Barbara, my life is not what you think it is. And I love that because she's telling the truth, you know, and it was just so cool to watch. Now let's move on from the initial part and let's get into the meat and potatoes of the movie. Chris Pine. How does he come back? How does Steve Trevor come back in this movie? Well, guess what? Diana's wish. When she made that wish on the wishing stone, the wishing stone was also an allegory for the monkey's paw, beware of what you wish for. And to see him come back, and at first he's not Chris Pine, he's this other actor that you see here, Christopher. And when you see him come back and he's like, Diana, and she says this line, and she says it so well. She's like, please, sir, you don't know who I am. Stop following me. And then he says, I wish we had more time. And it stops her in her tracks. And she says, why did you say that to me? And then he puts the watch in her hand and he says, you know, I can save tomorrow, but you can save the world. I can save today, but you can save the world. And oh my God, I'm so sorry. I got chills. Because when she realized in that moment that it was Steve, that was beautiful. And then there's the part, like I said, when they were at the Lincoln Monument and they were just walking and talking. And I love the part where he was like, Diana, I don't know where I've been, but I know it's been somewhere good. And I love how it was a subtle hint that there is a heaven. And it was such a needed message. It was so perfect timing and it was so needed. And I love that so much. And I love how when they're back in the apartment and him and Diana are together, and she's like, "Oh, this is how you found me." And he's looking in the mirror at himself, and she's like, "I don't see him. I just see you." And I'm not gonna lie, guys. To be in love with someone and for someone to love you and just see you, no matter what you look like, no matter what you wear, they always see you. And is that not what we always want in our companion, in our lover? Is for our lover to always see us. And I love that so much. It struck a chord with me because that's how I am. I love my wife no matter what. I can always say another, "Oh, you're super hot," or "You're attractive," or "You're so beautiful," or whatever. I can compliment people all day long, but none of them are Christina to me. And when I saw that, I again, it resonated with me on a deeper level, and I said, "Fuck yeah." That right there, I loved it. The lines in this movie are so beautifully written, and they're so romantic, and they're just so now and so needed right now. I just love that. I was so here for it. So let's move ahead a bit. Let's talk about some of the action sequences within this movie. One of the first action sequences we see is Wonder Woman at the mall. And I loved it. I thought it was so cool seeing how, the guy was flipping out and he was like, "I'm not going back." And he grabs the little girl who I like to call AKA Little Harley Quinn. How Diana comes in and she saves the little girl, puts her on the rocker, on the little horse, and she goes in and she just kicks ass and takes names. And I love how the guy had the gun and she just sticks out her hand and she said, "We will not be doing that today." And she was so matter of fact about it. I loved it. I thought that was such a cool action sequence. And I love how she just ties the bad guys up and drops them on the car and she's off. I love that. And I love how Diana fought in this movie. Diana is not always an aggressive, "I'm in your face." Diana fights defensively a lot of times, and I love that they put that in the movie, because if you read any Wonder Woman comic book, Diana fights by a code. She fights by the Amazonian code to never truly do harm, more to enable or to subdue her opponent without truly hurting them or killing them. And I love that they put that kind of stuff in this movie. I thought that was so cool that you got to see Wonder Woman like that. And I love the little cute black girl that was in the mall that was just so adorable. I'm so here for it. I hope that's a future Honeybee, although I know Honeybee is more of like a Teen Titans character, but I just loved it. And now my favorite action sequence is not the White House scene and it's not the cheetah fight. It's actually the car chase. When Diana is in the car, her and Chris Pine, at this point in the story, Pedro Pascal gets his hands on the wishing stone and Barbara already makes her own wish with the wishing stone, because Barbara wishes to be like Diana, but she didn't know what she was wishing for. She said, "I wish to be like Diana, and I wish to be, strong and brave and special," right? And she got her wish. Pedro Pascal, when he got his hands, and I love how he seduced Barbara to get the stone, and when he got it, he said, "I wish to be you, the dream stone," and it turns into dust, and he becomes the dream stone, and we'll talk about a little bit more about him in a minute. But that action sequence, going back to that, where Diana's chasing after Maxwell Lord, because at this point in the story, Diana doesn't realize that he's the stone at this point. And I love how the guy that's shooting and Chris is getting off the road and everything. And I love how she takes off her clothes and she's like, "I got it from here." And she gets out the car and she just starts running. And I love how she does that little head tilt while she's running. I thought that was so fucking cool. One of the things that made me like this scene the most is when you see the trucks are flipping and all that stuff, and Wonder Woman runs around, and I'm calling her Wonder Woman. She runs around, and she gets the car, and she just starts pushing it. That shit right there was so fucking cool. It was so Wonder Woman using the car as a shield so she can get closer to her opponent. And I love how she does a little thing where she slides underneath the car when the metal part of the car falls and she just slides underneath it. I thought that was so cool. I love when she runs past the car and she jumps inside and she rips the steering wheel out and she's like, "The brakes still work." And that's like so Wonder Woman. Again, never to truly hurt your opponent, more to subdue them and get them out of your way. Again, love that. I love when Diana was swinging on the rope at the end of the car chase and she realized something is wrong with her and she falls to the floor, and she does everything in her power to protect the children from being hit by the car. That was so Wonder Woman. And again, going back to the monkey's paw, I love how the wishing stone again was an allegory for the monkey's paw. Beware of what you wish for, because you'll get it, but there's always a twist to the wish. And I loved how when Diana wished for Steve to come back, she was losing that which was most precious to her, and that was her abilities, her powers, that which makes her Wonder Woman. And when Barbara makes her wish, and how she's slowly losing her humanity and becoming this beast, right? And then when Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord makes his wish, and what he loses is not only does he become the wishing stone and he's able to twist the wishes, he's losing his health. I thought those subtle things in the story were just beautifully told. And then when we do get to the White House scene, and and Diana meets Carl, because that's how she could get into the White House with Chris Pine, and she has that fight, and she's using her lasso, and when you see Wonder Woman blocking, and in this movie, Wonder Woman gets hit by bullets. And you see how she takes those hits, but they don't take her down. It just, she just gets hit by the bullets, and you see her bleeding. And I love how Chris Pine, as Steve Trevor grabs the shield and he protects her and he grabs his sword, and she's like, no, Steve, no, they don't know what they're doing. Like, they don't realize that they're actually being manipulated. Again, that is so Wonder Woman. I love that in the story. I thought that was such a good part. And I love the final fight where she fights Cheetah and she has the angel armor on. I know a lot of people feel that she didn't really do a lot with it. In my opinion, she really did, because she embodied everything that is Wonder Woman. I love seeing how Cheetah was trying to rip off the armor, and you was getting that POV version as Diana and her were fighting, and she was trying to rip off that armor to get to Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman finally says enough, and she knocks her back, and she knocks off those wings like, bitch, bring it. I was like, fuck yeah, the fight's on. And I thought the fight between her and Cheetah was so beautiful, as she was on her lasso and she was spinning around and they were fighting. I just loved it. I loved it so much. Now let's talk about some of the emotional parts in the movie. When Diana realizes that her wish for Steve is what she has to undo, and at this point in the story, Diana's beaten up, she's all battered, and her and Steve are having this conversation, and Steve says the line where he's like, you need to renounce the wish so you can get your powers back, and she's like, I'll never love again. And for a person, for those of you who are watching who have truly been in love with somebody, that destroyed me. And she was crying, and how he said, you don't have to say goodbye because I'm already gone. And that was really hard to watch, but it was so beautiful. And seeing how she had to rip herself away from Steve so she could go be Wonder Woman, and he says the line of, Diana, I'll always love you no matter where I am, and she says, I renounce my wish, and she gets her powers back, and she starts running, and she starts, like, she's doing that warrior cry, because she's like really embodying, and she's really letting go of Steve fully for this time. And it's just, guys, I'm trying not to cry, but that was such a powerful scene. And to see her really embrace everything that makes her Wonder Woman, and she throws her lasso and she jumps into the sky, and in that moment she learns to fly, because there's a part in the movie where she talks to Steve about his gift of flight, and he tells her something, and you see that she takes what he said and she applies it to action, and she flies. That shit, I loved it. That was like, fuck yeah, let's go wreck some shit. And it was awesome. I loved it. And I loved going back to the villains. I loved how Cheetah, there's a part in the movie where Cheetah interacts with this gentleman and she gets revenge on how he made her feel small and insignificant. And he grabs her and she just says this part, no. And he tries again and she's like, no. Kristen Wiig showed me in that moment, not only was she a super tough, cool badass, but she was actually kind of scary in that scene. And I love how she beats the guy up. And it was just such a good scene. And I love the cheetah music where she's fighting and you hear that da-da-da, da-da-da, like the cheetah is coming. And guys, I loved it. I loved it so much. God. this movie is so fucking good. And I love Pedro Pascal and how he was so manipulative. Once he became the wishing stone, how he would use people's wishes, because you can only make one wish. Once you make your wish, that's it. How he would manipulate people to get what he wanted. And I thought that was such a cool way to use. Now, for those of you who don't know, Maxwell Lord in the comic book was actually a telepath, and he got his powers through some kind of weird alien invasion kind of thing, and whenever he would use his telepathy, his nose was bleed. And he's such an integral character within the DC universe. And I liked how in this version, he uses it still, but in a different way, and I love that about his character. I thought that was so cool. I love how it made his character actually more interesting than in the comic books, in my honest opinion, the way they wrote him in this version. And I thought it was so good. I just loved it, and I love the scenes with him and his son. I highly recommend, I don't want to spoil those for you, I highly recommend that you just see them for yourselves. They were so good, and it was so beautiful. Seeing how he just wanted to be someone his son could be proud of. And when you find out why he's that way at the end of the movie, when Diana reveals to him the truth, and it's so beautiful, it's so good. Now, for those of you who are expecting a big bang blow up action scene at the end of the movie with Diana and Maxwell Lord, don't expect one, because the way this movie ended, again, when you understand what Diana sacrificed, because she even tells Steve in the movie, why can't I have this one thing? And my God, how many of us can relate to that? Why can't I have this one thing? Why can't I have what I want when I want it? But you can't always get what you want. You can't have your cake and eat it too. And that was something Diana had to learn in this movie, and it was so good, guys. It was so beautifully done. I'm so here for it. I love it so much. And then going back to where Diana is confronting Maxwell. And I like how she gets the lasso around his leg, because she didn't have to physically attack him. She used her lasso, and she made him speak his truth. But then he says, I'm not listening to you. But she said, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to everyone else. And then he realizes the lasso was on his leg, and I fucking love that. It was smart writing. It wasn't lazy, because the magic lasso is what it is. As Diana said in the movie, it's the truth. The truth is what powers it, and the truth is bigger than all of us. And the truth is enough. And I just love that. I thought that was so good. And I loved how Diana was talking to the people. She said, look at what your wishes are doing to this world. It's time for you to be the hero. And I love that. That's so needed right now in today's world. People need to realize they can be the hero of their own story if they just put their mind to it. This movie had so many beautiful messages in it, and I loved it so much. But I gotta stop talking about this movie, because I don't want to fucking cry, because none of y'all want to see that, and I don't want to have to edit it out. How about that? But going back to some of the comic book elements in the movie. Now, I know Jeff Johns may not have actually done this, but this movie reminded me of a specific comic book of this character called, he's called, I want to say, he's like some kind of weird wishing demon. And here it is on screen. As you can see here on screen, this is the name of the character. He actually, Maxwell Lord gets this character, and this character is manipulating him, and as he's thinking he's making better decisions for the world, more chaos is erupting, and he low-key affects the Justice League at the same time. And I thought that I got elements of that comic book when I was watching this movie. I said, oh my God, I'm seeing subtle hints of that. So if that was meant to be seeded into the movie through this story, I loved it. I thought it was so good. Now let's go back to when I said earlier, understanding Wonder Woman. If you have ever read, like I said, a Wonder Woman comic book, Wonder Woman is all about peace and love and harmony. And yes, she will fight. Yes, Wonder Woman is a badass. Yes, Wonder Woman used her lasso, sword, and shield and her awesome tiara to whip a bad guy's ass. But at the same time, Wonder Woman is not always about aggression first. Even though at some point she became the goddess of war, that's not always her way. And I love how the movie embodied that so beautifully. and I keep saying it, you need to watch it and need to understand Wonder Woman as a character on a fundamental level to fully appreciate this movie and the messages that Diana gives it throughout this movie. I think it's fucking fabulous. And again, to Jeff Johns, Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, Pedro Pascal, you guys did a phenomenal job. And as a fan of Wonder Woman and as a fan of DC, you did such a good job on this movie. I love it to life. It's just that good, guys. Oh my god, you need to see this movie for yourself. But now let's talk about the end credit sequence as well as, or post credit scene and my final thoughts. So let's do this. First and foremost, fuck yeah, Linda Carter was in this movie. I so loved it. I loved how she was the Amazonian woman who stayed behind to help all the others Amazons escape to Themyscira. So she's been on Man's World this entire time. I love how she does the thing where Diana says the same line in the movie. Oh, it's about shifting weight and balance. It takes practice. And I just loved it. I love seeing Linda Carter in this movie because Linda Carter, just like Gal Gadot, truly embodies Wonder Woman on a fundamental level in such a beautiful way. Like, not only do they play as Wonder Woman, but it's like they embody her. They become her. Like Christopher Reed and Henry Cavill really not only look like Superman, but they embody Superman. And that's what it's not Diana, but that's what Linda Carter and Gal Gadot do when they portray Wonder Woman, and I love it. I think it's so good. This movie is so amazing. I highly recommend that you see it. Don't just take it from me. Don't listen to the haters. Watch this movie for yourself and see how you feel about it. Or maybe have you already seen it and, what did you feel about it? But now let's talk about my final thoughts. In this entire movie, I only have 2 complaints. I wanted one more action sequence. I really did, because they were so good. I wanted more. And I wanted more time with Barbara as the Cheetah. Because as Cheetah, she only is Cheetah at the end of the movie. And it's based on a wish, and you see her become the Cheetah. And she was so cool as the Cheetah. I wanted more of it because I love the Cheetah as a villain in Wonder Woman's story. If you guys want me to do a history on Wonder Woman and all her villains and her mythology and all that stuff, let me know in the comment section and I'll happily do that for you because I truly love this character. And those are my only 2 complaints. I wanted one more action sequence, and I wanted one more scene, or a little bit more scene of her as fully fleshed out as the Cheetah. Outside of that, those are my only complaints. Other than that, this movie is 5 stars. I really love this movie. It gets a big fat ass A+. Wonder Woman 84 is just such a beautiful movie, and again, I highly recommend that you go see it for yourself and that you understand, what everyone's talking about. Again, don't listen to the haters. Don't just take it from me. See it for yourself. And if you see it and you just didn't like it, I love you anyway. But if you see it and you love it, or maybe after seeing it and then you saw this review and maybe something I said helped you see things a little differently, then awesome. And I'm happy that I did that for you. But again, this movie is so good and it had so many beautiful moments in it that really just struck chords with me, because I am a person who goes based on how I feel a lot of times, and this movie made me feel so many things. I laughed, I cried. There are some truly beautiful and romantic moments in this movie, and the invisible jet is in the movie, and I'm not even going to tell you about that. You just need to see it. And I love how it got into the movie. I thought it was fucking fantastic. You just need to see it for you guys. And I'm going to wrap up this review. But again, based on the things I told you, or if you've already seen it, what did you love most about Wonder Woman 84? Or what did you hate about Wonder Woman 84? I would love to know your thoughts and opinions. Sound off in the comment section, because I really do want to hear from you guys, especially on this film, because it's such a hot topic right now. And again, Wonder Woman is so relevant to the world right now. She truly is the world's champion, because Wonder Woman is the truth. And honestly, the truth is enough. And that's my review for Wonder Woman 84. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, leaving me a comment in the comment section down below, hit the notification bell so you're always notified when I'm uploading videos and giving you all kind of great reviews just for you. Then remember the golden rules of washing your hands, wearing gloves, wearing masks, practicing social distance, giving everyone love and respect, because honestly, that's how you get it in return. And with all that said, remember to live, think, and dream big. All Black Lives Matter. I'm going to see you on the flip side. So, bye! Wink!
Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman.
All the world is waiting for you and the power you possess.